Days Company. When her daughter Rory was born with an unexpected diagnosis of Down syndrome, she found herself overwhelmed as she faced a whole new world of multiple doctor and therapy appointments, all while figuring out at the same time how to become a stay-at-home mom of two. In her search for tools to support her in this new role as a special needs parent, she didn't find anything. So out of her own desperate need, Amanda created an organizational system that is now the Glory Days Daily Planner, the first daily planner for children with special needs. This planner has now launched an entire line of products which serve parents who are living the day-to-day with a special needs child in their home. So welcome, Amanda.
Oh, thank you for having me. What a wonderful intro you did.
Well, thanks. It gave us a lot of information about you, but why don't you just fill in some of the gaps and tell us maybe where you're from and a little bit more about your family?
Of course, of course. So we are in North Central West Virginia, and I live here. We are a family of five. I have my husband, Evan. We've been married for 10 years, and then three children, Owen, Rory, and our youngest, Wyatt.
Okay, and how old are your kids?
8, 4, and 2.
So you're in the thick of it with all sorts of developmental stages.
Yes, we really are. We're very busy.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about something that you know, which is kind of building a business to meet your own need.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning. Rory is your second child. Is that correct?
Yes, she is. She is
okay.
4.
So was the pregnancy itself any different? Because I don't understand or know if Down syndrome is often diagnosed before or after or how that works. So what was
normally it is diagnosed prior because
Okay.
there's a blood test that you can take.
Okay.
It's a quad is what they call it. And I was not advised to take that because I was 28 years old and it was my second pregnancy. We had no family history and, all of these other things. And so the doctor didn't recommend it. And so I let it pass. And we did our normal ultrasounds just like you would do in any pregnancy. And it didn't come up on the ultrasounds either. So she just surprised us 9 months later. And it was quite an event. It was quite a shift in our day-to-day life.
Most everybody listening is a mom, and we can relate to that challenge of adding a newborn to the family. But what is different? What is it like adding a child with special needs? You mentioned in the bio the doctor, the therapy appointments, but maybe describe for us, like, what is a typical day with a special needs newborn like?
Yeah. Well, I would say in our case, Rory arrived and she was healthy. She had 2 small holes in her heart, but they closed at 4 months old. 50% of children born with trisomy 21 normally have open heart surgery by 3 months old. We did not walk that path, but many do. So my newborn experience was more about the emotional state that I was going through, processing an unexpected diagnosis and acclimating to what our future was going to look like and trying to absorb all of that while healing and responding to an infant and from birth. And then I had my 3-year-old at the time, Owen, too. So my differences mostly were in my emotional response to her diagnosis. But in the day-to-day, we would have anywhere from 3 to 4 therapists coming into the home Monday through Thursday. And it started when Rory was 7 days old. When we came home from the hospital, our early intervention team was at our home waiting to enroll her in the program.
Which is a blessing, but that is a lot to coordinate.
Yes, it was a lot to take in. I mean, like I said, that emotional process took me about 6 months, I'd say, to go through the process of grief and acceptance. And then in that time, I was also needing to absorb all the education that I was being provided with of how to implement physical therapy, occupational, child development, nutritional needs, things of that nature.
Okay. So was that what it was that made you go, I don't just need a planner to manage appointments. I need a whole system to manage all the things that I'm supposed to do between appointments and all of that? Or, basically, what was it that you were looking for and couldn't find?
Of course. So like I said, I had a neurotypical 3-year-old. Previously had been in a career for 10 years in public relations. And then boom, I'm a stay-at-home mom and we have all of these appointments. And I was having a hard time motivating myself to get up and do those therapy responsibilities, the homework that was left by the practitioner, because they would come in the home for 30 to 45 minutes. And then it was on me for the next 7 to 10 days to do the work. And when I went to the marketplace to try to find a tool that took the tracking of everyday life, normal everyday life, and pairing it with the added responsibilities of raising a child with a disability, for example, therapy and appointment tracking, there wasn't anything out there that had it all in one place. It was all separated or non-existent, depending on the topic. And so I had to piece together an organizational system utilizing notebooks and dry erase boards and these big windows in my living room.
Okay. So you didn't find the solution. You pieced your own together. And that's how it often is, right? We have a need and we don't find it. And so we create the solution, which, like, I hate to cook and I've come up with a stellar meal planning system. And I don't want to be known as the meal planning person because that's not what I enjoy, right?
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I say that all the time. I'm not organized. I'm not Miss Organized who can advise you on how to be the most organized person.
Yeah.
And that's why I created this planner, because it wasn't my strongest area.
Yeah. And here you are being known for your planner.
Yes.
So how is it different then? Like, does it have the traditional calendar and all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Is it set up in different sections, or do you have like 4 or 5 pages per day so that you're tracking all these things? What's it kind of like?
So it's very similar in terms of like the aesthetic of it is very similar to something that you would get in a mainstream store in a retail location.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted it to be that way is a lot of times if you're a medical mom, a lot of things are clinical feeling, and I didn't want them to have that feeling. I wanted this to be peaceful and calm and remind them of the things that bring them joy in everyday life. Mm-hmm. And so the outside is very similar. When you open it up, what makes us different is we have 2 therapy tracking pages per every week. So you have a Monday through Friday chart twice. So you have 2 of these at the beginning of every single week to help you write down those protocols that your provider gives you so that you can check them off as you implement them with your child. And then next to it is a wins and concerns box. Okay. And we put that there so they could write how that child's responding to therapy. And the parent would be able to reference that in conversations with the provider. So the provider was creating a protocol based on how the child responded to the previous day's implementation, not just grasping or following a generic protocol. They can really craft it around your child's unique needs due to your tracking in our planner.
Okay. And now you're not trying to just go, oh, I need to remember to tell them this, because you're writing it down and it's all in one place.
Yeah. And sometimes you can have 4 to 5 different therapies in a week.
Yeah.
So that's a lot to remember.
Yeah. We unexpectedly adopted our younger 2, which is a whole nother story, but the baby had been 4 months premature. And so we suddenly found ourselves with all these therapies. And I'm listening to this going, that's what I needed, because it was really hard to remember to do and to remember what to report. So that sounds wonderful.
Yeah. And there's this whole process of frustration with self and feeling inadequate and feeling like you're not equipped for the role that you've been called to. And it's not that you're not equipped, it's just you need the support. You need items that support you managing this onslaught of information and education that you weren't prepared to receive or to provide to somebody else.
So did the mom guilt kind of feel even bigger? I mean, it's bad enough and you're like, I didn't even get laundry done, but now you've got all these other layers. I suppose that really...
Yeah, they do. They lay it on there. I would say, I mean, it's something, it's a lot heavier. I mean, we all want our children to thrive. It doesn't matter, neurotypical or not, we all want our children to thrive. In Rory's case, I feel like if I failed to meet a need that she has, or I'm not putting in the work with her, showing up to an appointment because things get overwhelming, it's doubled down because her ability to have independence in the future is very dependent on my engagement now and my work with her now. And that's going to affect our entire family. So, when I miss the mark, yes, the mom guilt is pretty heavy.
Yeah. So you made this planner, you have this system. How did you start to connect it to other, know that other parents would have it? Did doctors notice you using it, or did you just sort of start telling
No.
people?
No, so it's a really serendipitous experience, that I think happened because, when you receive a diagnosis, at the time, it feels like worst case scenario. At the time, it doesn't now, and because of that, was in this mind state of what do you have to lose? So 6 months into using this tool myself, what I created for myself, I was drying my hair one day and I just had this random thought cross my mind. If you need a planner, other people do, you need to make a planner.
Hmm.
I put my hair dryer down. I walked out. My husband was making the bed and I said, Evan, I need to make a planner. And he's like, good, go for it. And so, what I did over the next weeks that preceded is I started to reach out to people who knew how to do things I didn't know how to do. So I
Mhm.
formed the right team, and the first teammate that I reached out to was Nicole Yang, and she's our designer. And she helped me create a digital version of what I was utilizing myself. So I was just scratching charts on papers and on dry erase boards, and she translated my sketches into a digital product. Then I went to my social media where I had formed connections with other parents in the special needs community, in the disability community. And I asked them if this is something they needed. So I did a survey.
Mhm.
And within minutes, I had over 200 responses that yes, it was resounding. 90%, 95% of these women needed this tool. They were willing to pay for it,
Mhm.
and they needed it. And so then we formed a demo team. And that demo team was 55 parents across the US and Canada who tested a 30-day version of our planner and then provided feedback. And then we launched in November of 2018. So
Okay.
that was our first year. That's kind of a long story, but
Yeah.
it all fell together. I'm very magically. I know that sounds crazy, but
Mhm.
it just seemed to just hit at the right time with the right people,
Yeah.
and it took off.
Oh, I love that. That's great. So you've already got really unique challenges as you're balancing, the priorities of your family around the needs of your daughter and all of that. But now you're a mompreneur and you're launching your planner. What was the biggest challenge that you faced as you built your business in sort of keeping things in balance and integrated with home?
There first, that's the first thing, is that I've just come to realize that as a mom of 3, there's not balance, it's prioritization, and that prioritization is juggled, and it's juggled with them being first and then the other things below it, and that means that I cannot strive for perfection in this season of my life, because when I do, I'm miserable because it's not achievable right now.
Right.
So there's just
Forever. It's
or
not achieved
ever.
ever. So yeah.
It might be easier someday, but right now with these young ones, it's just not something that I can expect to happen, to have the perfect day where everything falls into place and I'm meeting all of my to-dos. So I'd say in terms of balancing, it's just realizing I can't
Mhm.
and doing the best I can. And I think too, I have a very gracious and understanding community. Like the people that I'm serving and communicating with on a daily basis are living a very similar life to myself. So they have compassion and understanding. When I'm not engaged and online or things are a little bit slower, they know why. And I'm very transparent with them about that. So I think that plays a lot into it also.
Mhm. So as you built this, what is besides your planner, besides your system, what is a resource or a practice that you stumbled on that really did help you keep those priorities of home and business in check, especially as it related to making sure that you were meeting, Rory's needs with therapies?
Yeah, so something that I implemented, and I don't even really know where I picked it up. I think it was just understanding my own personal capacity. Was I only have 3 things that I commit to in a day. Like I would never overbook ourselves outside of 3 things. And I mean, that's 3 major things across the board. So no more than a doctor's appointment and 2 other things. And if we had something going on at school, that would count as that, because I just knew, like, with the variables, that there was just, always going to be something that caused disarray.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel like I had the capacity to meet more than 3 demands in a day. And that has really helped me not over schedule myself or set high expectations. And I would even say, after I had a 3rd child, that sometimes that drops to 1 or 2 things a day instead of 3.
Okay. And so that might be a business call as one of those.
Yes.
If it's okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to say you only do 3 things, but these are 3 major commitments. So you might have a list of 8 or 9 little things you've still going to try to accomplish.
Oh,
but,
of course. Yeah. But 3 major time commitments in my day. So for example, today we had our first packaging day at Work Able, which is a facility that employs adults and teens with intellectual and physical disabilities. So that was a major commitment today. And then I had to be speaking with you, and then I had one other interview. So I knew today was a high demand day. That doesn't mean that my children are still not going to school and still need dinner and all those things. So I called in support. My husband had to take on some extra responsibility today. We had a babysitter in the evening. I don't want anybody to ever feel like, they need to do it all. You have to be able to ask for help and find the people that can provide it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you're using that organization for the packaging. I have an uncle who has worked, he's been one of those employees, and it's been fabulous for him to have that meaningful work in his day. So that's wonderful.
In the community. It was a great day. It was a wonderful day.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So what are some of the other products that this has launched?
Yeah, so we started with the planner, and then due to COVID, we shifted a little bit and we started to create journals, paperback journals. And so we have a medication tracking journal, a therapy tracking journal, and then we have a gratitude journal for caregivers that's specifically designed for a caregiver. We also have victory plan sticky pads. So they're pretty large sticky pads where you can plan out 5 days of activities with your kids, where you can write those big 3 down, like I say, and you can stick it onto your refrigerator and reference that. So there's just all kinds of products brewing up here.
Yeah.
They keep coming. As Rory gets older, the products really evolve to meet the needs of her time and the time that our communities find themselves in.
Yeah. So do you find that these are mostly being birthed out of your own need for it, or are you hearing from people and going, well, I could make something to meet that need, even though that's not something I would use now?
Yeah, no, I hear from our community a lot. They testing the demo and then the feedback over the years. Our internal pages have evolved over time from the feedback we received from our community, because we don't just provide this planner to families within the Down syndrome community. It's across the board, all developmental delays, disabilities, medical complexities. So there's some people facing things that I don't see in our day-to-day life. And they recommend items that we can add to our existing products, or some products that we can start to create in the future to meet those needs.
Okay. That's excellent. I love that. Well, it's not uncommon, like we've mentioned, for something to be birthed out of our own need. But what would you tell the mom listening who has been resisting creating the thing that she needs? She's been looking everywhere, but can't find it. What would your encouragement be to her as a future mompreneur?
Yeah, well, those whispers, those naggings are not there for just to torture you. They're there because you're being called into something and you have the opportunity to say yes or to say no. And I would have to say, if you say no, that it's going to keep tapping on you, because it's your specific gifts that are able to bring it to be.
That's good advice. Don't ignore those nudges.
No.
What's next for Glory Days Planner?
I hope so many things.
Yeah.
I hope we can continue to have good sales so that we can employ our partners at Work Able. That's very important to me, because as teens graduate high school, when they have disabilities, it can be really hard to find next steps for them and community for them. So, watching my daughter grow and thinking of her future, partnerships with Work Able and other entities like that means so much to me. And then our product line is going to continue to evolve and expand. in the weeks and months and years to come.
Yeah. So is it mostly available online, or is it in stores, or do you sell it through doctor's office and therapists, or?
It is in all the above. So
Okay.
we just went wholesale for the first time this summer. So there are stores across the United States that are selling them. So
Hmm.
you can find them in local shops at this point. It's not in big chain retails, but it is in local boutiques and paper-based stores.
Hmm.
And then we have partnerships with entities in our state, like Birth to Three, that early intervention program that I talked to. Hospitals, nonprofits, and therapy centers are utilizing our tools, but they can be utilized in any area. So if a listener feels like our products would be relevant to a population they serve or in a facility that they attend themselves, please, by all means, pass our information along. We would love to connect our resources to more families across the U.S.
Yeah, I was going to ask, would this be useful if somebody's working through like a cancer diagnosis and they're managing things, or you have a loved one that's starting down the road of dementia and there's all sorts of
Yes.
things that you're managing?
Most definitely. It was born out of my need as a special needs parent,
Mm-hmm.
but it is, applicable to anyone in a caregiver role. If you're caring
Okay.
for an elderly parent or a spouse who is, like you said, receiving cancer treatment or any kind of therapy, it would be supportive to that caregiver.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. I feel like I'm going to see you on Shark Tank sometime. So
Oh my gosh. If only, when we went to New York to launch our wholesale, that was something that was said to me more times than I can count.
really, okay.
Yes, it
Well,
was.
one day, and then I'll be like, I interviewed her.
One day we'll put it into the universe and hope for the best.
That's right. Oh, well, I just love that you have done this. I love
Thank
that,
you.
and whether Rory knows it now or will ever really understand just the depth of the love and support that this has been for her,
Mhm.
we all see it. And so,
Oh, thank you.
well done. Well done,
Yeah.
Mama.
Oh, thank you. She's inspired it all. I really hope that she gets to be she's a part of it now, but I look forward to her in the teen years being able to be more hands-on.
Yeah, yeah. So this has been a great conversation. And as we wrap
Thank
up, one of my favorite questions to ask every guest, it's a little more lighthearted and fun, but what is your favorite time-saving gadget, system, or tool besides your planner?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say, what is it called? Instacart.
Yes.
Yes. I cannot the hours I have saved from being able to order our groceries, it's a game changer.
Yes. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes. I love all of those apps now that just bring things to my door like magic.
Yes, it
My
is. Yeah, and that, I mean, for any family with young kids, but especially when you're juggling all those other things, anything that
Mhm.
delivers is just a
Next
lifesaver.
level.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Amanda, how can people connect with you? Where can they find you? And then I know you have a free resource, the Caregiver Burnout Printable.
Mhm.
Why don't you tell us about that as well?
Yes. So you can find us at theglorydaysco.com. And on our homepage, you're going to see the sign up form to receive that free PDF, the Caregiver Burnout. It's 5 tips to avoid burnout as a caregiver. It'll be delivered straight to your inbox, and you can print it off and hang it up on your fridge or in your bathroom as a reminder. And then if you'd like to see us in the day-to-day, learn tips about how to utilize your planner, or just hear from experts that we bring onto our Instagram page, you can follow us at The Glory Days Co. on Instagram.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. And I will look forward to seeing where this goes and all the new products that are birthed out of this in the years to come.
No, thank you so much for having me.